Thanks, Goose. Well, it's been 3 whole years since we reviewed Monster Hunter Tri for the Wii, and now it's time for us to review it again.
Well, that's not strictly true, Budge. Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate is not just a high-def remake for the Wii U and the 3DS. It's a complete overhaul. Over 50 different boss monsters now, over 300 quests, as well as loads of tweaks under the hood. It's similar to Capcom's fighting game updates. There are a lot of familiar faces, but beneath the surface, it's a whole different animal.
First, a bit of perspective. Monster Hunter is basically a national obsession in Japan. It's inspired a whole subgenre of co-op games such as Soul Sacrifice and God Eater.
As the name implies, you control a professional hunter of monsters. It can take a while to track down your quarry in this sprawling, slightly strange fantasy wilderness, but once you do, the real game begins, for Monster Hunter is all about drawn-out, tense boss fights.
These dragons are super freaky. They move fast, hit hard, and their attack patterns seem overwhelming at first. Dying is a part of the learning process, but it's still humiliating when you're dragged back to base with your bum in the air.
But when you do learn a monster's moves, the tide turns and the fights become more cathartic.
Ah, you thought this was a mud hole, Mr. Baroth. But no, it's an operating table, and I'm the surgeon.
They've bumped the number of weapon classes up to 12 in Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate, although half of them are recycled from the PSP classic Monster Hunter Freedom Unite. I'm always partial to a bit of archery, so I was happy to see that bows are better suited to solo play now, thanks to a handy vertical barrage attack. And the new explosive slime element works well. The more arrows that strike, the greater the chance of a chain reaction.
I'm so glad the dual swords are back. I love to get my Kratos on. And if you prefer to tank your way through, then the Gunlance beckons. The variety of weapons is a big feature. If something gets a bit stale, you just switch to another one.
I really like the way they rebalanced the hunting horn class. Aside from the absurd kick you get from belting a wyvern with a giant harmonica, you can be a credit to the team with your buffs. Let me play you the song of my people.
This is a weird game. All the Monster Hunter games have a bit of a weird vibe to them, but that's kind of half of the charm. But before we get any further, let's talk graphics. The 3DS text is a little bit off, and also while the Wii U version has a high-def engine, the textures and character models all look suspiciously low-def. As do some of the environments, and worse yet, a lot of the textures look like they've simply been ripped from the 3DS version. The first time I saw those textures, Hex, I had to go use the ABC emergency eye wash station.
You don't have an emergency eye wash station. Were you just crying in the bathroom
I was just crying in the bathroom.
It's not that bad.
It's not that great either. And it should be.
But the monsters do look so intimidating, thanks in part to the self-shadowing in the lighting engine. But the more important issue is how it all plays. Capcom has refined the combat but hasn't messed with the core gameplay.
Yeah, about that, there is so much that you have to learn from forums and friends and trial and error, and while that can be a really good thing, I always find it a little bit too much to get my head around with the Monster Hunter games. Take this guy, the Duramboros. He's so big that if you melee him, it's hard to see what the heck you're doing, but venture out with a ranged weapon instead, and he just turns into a huge punching bag.
Even then, that tail attack. There are quite a few new features like the ultra-difficult G-rank quest tier, and if you own both the 3DS and Wii U versions of the game, you can transfer your save back and forth, which is fantastic. There's also quite a limited lock-on feature now, but I actually prefer the precision of manual camera control, I think.
You can also put potions and things on the Wii U gamepad, but it's a bit of a gimmick, really. I do like the progression of the game, though. You unlock abilities by upgrading your gear.
I just think this world has so much personality. I mean, why are there cats that cook for you? I don't know, but I like it.
And what's with the buff recipes? I'll have some salty milk with my thorned meat.
Ooh. And what's with this pig? I mean, he doesn't do anything except for that cute little dance.
Yeah. There is a lot of attention to detail here. The ecosystems, the landscape, it makes it feel like a nature doco at times. Except instead of a lion stalking a gazelle, it's you who's taking down these noble beasts. It makes me stop and think, Hex, are we the real monsters here?
No.
I think we are. I see a lot of similarities to my beloved Dark Souls here, but also, this is one peculiar game. There's a lot of pre-quest prep and item box fiddling, and some of those random quest rewards are maddening. For a game that's supposedly all about skill, it does feel like a slot machine at times. It would take hundreds of hours to collect all of the gear in this game.
Yeah, and that would be frustrating if collecting was the goal, but the real reward here isn't the loot. It's learning how to teach those dragons a lesson. The real reward of Monster Hunter is satisfaction. Look, there is a staggering amount of content in 3 Ultimate, and I think fans will go absolutely nuts on it. If you can find a good, solid group of co-op buddies, then this could really keep you entertained for a while, so I'm giving it 8.5 out of 10.
I absolutely agree with you, but I find it odd and maddening, so I'm giving it 7 out of 10.
Piggy disagrees.